All right, we're back. Just like that, like we never left. You know how I like to come in. Just right in the door, no spectacle, no sounds, no crazy music. I could, but no. I needed to come back, needed to speak about a bunch of things. It's been a while, but I think it's been the same amount of time since Wendy Williams has been off the air. So I think I could have took a little hiatus. This is I've Got Questions. If you hear click clacking in the back, got a new dog. Been dealing with him. His name is Bronx. He is a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. He is a foster, and I will be adopting him. So that's a part of what you've missed with me, right? But what we've missed in the world, or what we haven't talked about, is a whole lot. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a whole bunch of things going on. To really where we even start, I guess we have to start with the gun conversations, right? That are going on. If you've listened to me in the past and you know that I'm a 2A supporter, I am for the Second Amendment. But what I'm not here for is children having guns and being able to kill people and buy guns at gun stores and things of that nature when they haven't developed. I mean, you talk about so there's going to be a lot of talk that's going to go on. I'm going to play, as you know, this is a play and react kind of show, where we're going to start talking about what should be the age limit of some of these guns and what who should have them, who should, right? Because there's going to be a lot of conversation. But one of the big things they're going to talk about is mental health, and they're going to talk about passing bills for mental health and whatnot. But my question has to be, how do you pass a bill about mental health and getting people help when the mental age of maturity for a male is not 20 until 25, right? So you aren't even matured enough to where you can really fully process these thoughts that you may have or may not have until you're 25. Um, but you are allowed to go and buy a gun that can cause mass destruction, that can cause the holes, the size of a cantaloupe to go into people's bodies. And I mean, I just really feel like the age limit should go to 25 at this point. I have several guns and whatnot, but I was able to. I mean, I didn't live in a time where every video game or every other third video game has a gun in it, whether it's shooting out lasers or whatever. Where they try to dress it up, where it's not as violent. Like how the what was that movie, Suicide Squad, where they didn't use blood, they didn't use the color red for blood, they used like purple and stuff like that to make it not as violent. I didn't grow up in an age where everything is about war, everything is about fighting, everything is about conquering, you know. And then there's the war in Ukraine, which we haven't even talked about, you and I. I'm sure you talked about it, but my thoughts are very widespread, I'll say. But let's get into now the war on guns, right? Let's get into the war on guns. And I'm going to actually start this. I was going to start this a different way. I'm going to start this with and go a little further back for you. Let's see. Because I do want to talk about what happened in Buffalo, which is where I think most of this conversation began.
An 18-year-old white male has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder for a mass shooting at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York, in what authorities called an act of racially motivated violent extremism. Authorities say at least 10 people have been reported dead from the shooting, which took place in a predominantly black neighborhood in Buffalo on Saturday afternoon. Buffalo Police Commissioner Joseph Romagli Police Commissioner Joseph Gramaglia said the suspect was armed with an assault-style rifle and body armor when he opened fire in the parking lot while live streaming the attack on Twitch.
So I do want to stop right there and talk about that. Because just like the insurrection of January 6th, 2021, I believe that's the date. Just like that one. These people knew about this, right? There's no doubt in mind that someone knew about this. This guy was planning this for a very long time. He, traveled 200 miles from where he lived just to go to Buffalo, New York, just to go to this neighborhood to kill black people. And the attack on black people is just, more and more evident when we hear about these kind of things. That's why when, the Asian hate, Stop Asian Hate, there were Asian laws that were passed this year, but none for black people. None. There still is no law against racism in this country. How do you have a country that says they're not racist and you haven't banned racism? See, that would be my first thing to do, right? But instead, they rather take it away from the textbooks. Take it away from where you can read about it. Facebook hits me up with posts that I put up in 2016 about race and history and showing people, some of the depictions of how black men were hung up, and there were crowds of white people standing around pointing and laughing at a lifeless body that was dragged through everything and beaten and stabbed and then killed by lynching. But Facebook covers it because it might be sensitive to people. Who's it sensitive to? When you talk about how white fragility is in this country, I mean, the only way to fix racism is to ban it and then fix it, right? Fix mental health issues with it, because obviously racism is a mental health issue. Racism as a whole, we should have a national emergency for it so that we can actually fix the issue. Because racism is systemic, right? It's in the banking. It's in job interviews. You see Wells Fargo set up fake interviews for black people so that they wouldn't get the job. That's recent. That was days ago in the news. This is June 2022. Wells Fargo, one of the largest institutions of banking, holding mock interviews where they knew the black people weren't going to get the job. But you say that this country is not racist. You don't ban racism. You don't have any strict laws on racism. None. But you hide it under the First Amendment. How? When someone goes to get a house and they can't get a house because that mortgage company wants to be racist and not allow them to buy a house in a different neighborhood instead of the neighborhood that they want them to really buy a house in, which was called redlining, which is still a thing. How is it not racist? How is this country not racist? When you can't just go and get a job, and they talk about affirmative action. Like I was watching something where I think a Latino man was like, that he has an issue with black people and that he doesn't believe in affirmative action, that someone shouldn't get a job because they're black. That's not what affirmative action was for. That's not what it even talks about. But in this country, there's a belief that black people have been afforded the same equality as other people. And it's just not true.
Towards the front of the store, Buffalo police immediately respond, engage the suspect in the vestibule of the store, and at that point the suspect put the gun to his own neck. Buffalo police personnel, 2 patrol officers, talked the suspect into dropping the gun. He dropped the gun, took off some of his tactical gear, surrendered at that point.
Officials said 11 of the 13 people struck by gunfire were black, and that the attack would be investigated both as a hate crime and an act of racially motivated violent extremism under federal law. Twitch said in a statement that it removed the live stream of the attack less than 2 minutes after it started and was working to ensure no other accounts reposted the content.
But if the attack or the live stream started and you removed the live stream 2 minutes after it happened, now y'all can track anything. Y'all know where all this started. You know when I'm recording this right now where the hell I am. If I started a hate speech thing live and you could shut it down and remove it 2 minutes after, then why didn't you say where he was? Why didn't you call somebody and get him out of there? Why wasn't anyone stopping this? Just like the insurrection. They knew about it. They knew it was coming. It was planned. They had conversations that they pull up now that they saw back in December, but did nothing to stop it, really. They had a president that was on TV telling people to come, to take Mike Pence out. Nothing happened.
At the suspect's arraignment on Saturday, New York Governor Kathy Hochul said such live streams were responsible for a feeding frenzy of violent extremist ideology.
Right.
She also pledged to introduce previously planned gun control legislation on Tuesday to address loopholes in state laws.
To see that sense of security shattered by an individual, a white supremacist,
Right.
who has engaged in an act of terrorism and will be prosecuted as such, it strikes us in our very hearts to know that there's such evil that lurks out there.
Documents attributed.
We know that the evil lurks out there because it's allowed. There's conventions all around this country that celebrate the South or the Confederates who put on these outfits and pretend that, they won the war. It's treason. In any other country, it's treason. If you go back in history, it would be treason. You would be off with his head. That's what you would do. If you were in the woods somewhere and celebrating that maybe you won the war. You have these flags, Confederate flags, all around the country. That's treason. They celebrate it as history. If you were doing that with the Nazi flag, you would call it racist or you would call it anti-Semitic. You would jump right all over it. You'd be all over it, calling it anti-Semitic. Oh my God, the Jews are being harmed. But every day I got to see a Confederate flag fly past me. Like it doesn't hurt. Like I have no thoughts. Like I couldn't possibly be upset about it, right? That's the thing, is that black people are allegedly, we're desensitized to this. We're just okay with it. And it comes from the Stockholm syndrome that black people do have from racism and from slavery, which I've talked about before on this show. And welcome back. This is season 2. And I'm going to come harder and harder. Yeah, that's where we are in this country, where racism is allowed. Racism is not illegal. It's covered under the First Amendment some kind of way, even though it's systemic. You have for-profit prisons, which they have all these police out there arresting people based on nothingness, harassing people over nothingness, just to find if they have a warrant, just to find if they have an open container, just to push them through the system so they can get that $12,000 bonus when they arrest someone. Right? And the $12,000 bonus, I was going to leave that alone, but I'm going to clarify what I mean on that. So when you go to prison, right, there's a $12,000 fee that the state pays to bring a prisoner in. The state pays that, and guess who pays that? Us, the regular people. We pay for that. And guess who we pay it to? For-profit prisons. And guess who puts the money into the system where you're telling people to go out and arrest black people and go out and arrest people in the communities of let's just say it, poor. all the politicians. You have billionaire companies putting their hands into our systems, into our prison systems. We have the largest prisons. We have the largest prison population in the world, but we only make up. I think we only make up. This country only makes up, I believe, less than 10% of the population in the world. But we have 25% of the prison population in the entire world. How's that possible? I mean, I'm jumping around, but I've got questions, and no one wants to answer them. If you're listening, can you answer them? If you're in the comments, go ahead. Answer them for me. Let me know why. Let's get back to these shootings. Let's talk about Uvalde.
Tonight, Pete Arredondo
Let me cue that to my TV. I'm a one-man show over here, so you may have to wait a second. You may have to. Let's check this out. I don't know why that's not connecting. But speaking of Uvalde, all right. So we know about Uvalde. We know that there were 19 children who were killed. We know that there were
tonight. Pete Arredondo.
Sorry about that. 19 children were killed in Uvalde. The police, are being screamed at for taking, I think, 45 minutes to go inside. And then you look at excuse me. You look at with this Buffalo case, right, where there's a white supremacist, white shooter who was just taken into custody and, all nice and prim and proper, didn't get roughed up like Donald Trump said back in the day, when he was president, during his one-term presidency, where you rough up the criminal. They just took him out all nice, hair blown in the wind, no dirt marks on him. But then you look at this guy who was killed in Uvalde, who was Spanish. He was killed by the people down there. I just wanted to point that out, how that always happens, and unless they kill themselves, these white supremacists, they get to go into the prison system and be heralded. And if you look at Dylan Roof, had $1 million bail, paid it. How? White supremacy is allowed to run this country all the time, every day, every time. You have to look at that stuff. You have to talk about it. If you don't talk about where the money comes from and where the money goes, you're not really trying to get the answer.
The Uvalde school police chief and his attorney telling the Texas Tribune he was committed to stop the shooter or die trying. Running into Robb Elementary armed with his Glock service pistol and no body armor. But the 29-year police veteran left not one but 2 police radios outside the school, telling reporter James Baraga he thought they would...
Why he had to say his name like that now? Now, white people love to emphasize when they do Spanish. El Parco, where's the El Parco? Now, he said, change Baraga.
Down.
He said that was a conscious decision. He rushed in there, put both of his hands on his gun.
And to clarify, the man is 100% Spanish.
Because he was taught that was the most accurate way to attack the shooter.
We've now learned the gunman walked in through an unlocked door. Arredondo and another officer entering here minutes later. He says they ran towards gunfire in rooms 111 and 112, where both doors were locked. The school's chief says after bullets pierced a door and wall, grazing at least one officer, he called for tactical gear, a sniper, and keys to get inside the classroom. The first ring of 6 keys didn't work. Arredondo says he was later given another with 20 to 30 keys.
Jesus.
Precious time ticked by. The chief saying, each time I tried a key, I was just praying. 77 minutes after the massacre began,
Lord.
the classroom door was finally unlocked.
Somebody jump out the window.
During that time, Arredondo
I mean, I just want to jump in on that. I mean, 77 minutes of terror. I mean, I haven't talked about this, yet, but when it happened, oh my God, I just kept, you can't do nothing but cry. But to think about how 77, you know what 77 minutes is when you're in an active shooting situation. And I'm actually going to an active shooter, I don't know, whatever you call it. I don't know what to call it right now. But these children, some of them were calling 911. They were calling and saying, "Where are you?" There's so many calls. You can go and listen to it yourself. There's children who were smothering their bodies in blood just because they didn't want to get killed, that they saw that on TV. They saw it in the active shooter presentation before. This is where we are. And you don't want to raise the minimum wage, the minimum age to 25 years old. You want the age to stay 18. You don't want to change. You don't want to stop this. You don't want to stop kids from being killed. Y'all don't want that. Y'all want more kids to die. Y'all want more carnage in this country. Because all you do is put Band-Aids on things. You've done it for hundreds and hundreds of years, put Band-Aids on things. Wiped out entire nations, wiped out entire villages and whatnot, and just put Band-Aids on.
He was also telling officers to evacuate people through windows to avoid having students coming into the hallway. And he's refuting the claim from DPS that he was the one in charge.
The chief of police of the Consolidated Independent School District is the incident commander.
Arredondo said he had taken on the role of frontline responder inside the school, assuming some other officer or official had taken control of the larger response.
And in that same interview, the chief went on to say that he never gave any order to any other agency here at the scene, saying because he was unaware that he had ever been made.
This is just going to be a point the finger kind of moment for the rest of this. There's people who just want someone to blame, someone to go down for this. 19 kids murdered. I don't even want to keep thinking about, I can't, because it's just horrible. It's just horrible to think that this is where we are, that we're still saying things like we don't want to raise that age, that we should still allow people who can't even buy liquor in some states to be able to buy guns that don't stop. That when you want to reload that gun, it takes a mere, at most, if you're a good shooter, if you know how to change your magazines, 10 seconds to change a magazine. And you don't want to change the laws. They don't want this to change. They don't want carnage in this country to stop. They don't want that. Because you would do something real about it. You wouldn't just sit on your ass and try to protect guns so much. Sure, if you want to protect the guns, then fine. But remove them. Remove them out of children's hands. You have all these kids walking around, even in Atlanta. I know some people who work in security and whatnot. And they talk about how there are these children who walk around, and they're allowed to, because in Georgia you're allowed to now do that without a license, who walk around with, pistols and things that have these extended clips. And if you're security, I mean, at this point, you should be having your own extended clip. But if you don't, and you just came just to do regular ass security, you have no competition to that. I remember I was at a photo shoot, actually, and this is why I get to talk from experience from things, and this is why I kind of feel like, I've got questions that's more interesting in some places, because I'm actually, I actually see a lot of different things. I'll just say that. And I'm not just a one-off. I was at a photo shoot where, I'm always carrying. I always carry. This is a very gun state, or as I've called it in season 1, the Wild Wild West. And this guy. I had just a little old pistol. Okay, a 380. A nice Taurus 380. Had I think what was it? 6 bullets in it, and I had an extra magazine that had another 6 in it. And this guy walks in. He's, I guess, I don't know if he's security or just a friend of the rapper friend that was with him. And he had this large gun. Now, first of all, the one thing I'll say is that when someone's inexperienced in it, that they could be dangerous with a gun, is if they don't have a holster. For me, if you don't have a holster on your gun, or you don't have a holster, for a pistol or something like that, or a strap, something like that, it kind of shows that you're not as, I don't know. It just doesn't. It tells me that you may do something stupid, right? And it was just this large magazine just hanging out of his pants. He had this. It was definitely a pistol. It wasn't a rifle. And this large magazine just in his pants, and just walking around. And I'm like, oh my God! Like, if they wanted, because I was helping out at the studio. This is a big studio. They have lots of props, lots of electronics. I'm like, if they wanted to rob y'all, we'd be fucked. There'd be nothing I could do, because I wouldn't even wear. And the funny part is, we were like in a kind of really open space. We'd be done. And to have someone, and I know he was young, a young guy. He was definitely younger than me, and have these guys have these kind of machines out there, and that you don't want to stop it, by really enacting laws and whatnot, and making sure that, these guns will get into the hands of people who have been developed mentally. It just shows to me, it really just, it just shows to me that, no, there will be no change. Things will get more and more violent in this country. And if you don't have a gun, I have to tell you, you should protect yourself. I talk to a lot of people, and they're, I have God with me. And I believe in God too. But I think that God put us on this earth, and I think I've said it before, to be angels or devils. And if you're going to be an angel, you have to actually be an angel, and, protect yourself and protect others, and look out for others. And I'm not saying put yourself on the line, just saying you should be protecting yourself at this point, because there are idiots out there with guns. Not just you, not just anyone. There are idiots out there with these guns, and they don't know what the hell to really do with them but to pretend like they're on Grand Theft Auto. So one thing that's going on, there was these a group of senators and whatnot who got together, and they're voting on stricter gun control laws and
10
whatnot.
Republican senators announcing a breakthrough today that could lead to the most significant changes to gun laws in this country in decades. In the wake of shootings in Buffalo and Uvalde, Congress is under pressure to take action. There were protests in many cities on Saturday. Democrats in the House passed broader measures last week, but those negotiating in the Senate are suggesting this is what they can get done right now. The framework calls for expanding background checks for 18 to 21-year-olds, funding for states to pass so-called red flag laws. What's not included? A ban on assault weapons and no move to raise the age for buying those weapons. The NRA said late today it would make its position known when the full text of the bill is available. We'll have more reaction in a moment, but we begin with Josh Letterman with all the details.
Tonight, Democrats and Republicans doing what almost no one thought they could, reaching a deal on guns. It's a compromise, far short of what Democrats wanted, like an assault weapons ban. Still, President Biden saying it would be the most significant gun legislation to pass Congress in decades. The president pushing Congress to pass it fast, writing, "The sooner it comes to my desk, the sooner I can sign it." Just this weekend, tens of thousands took to the streets across the U.S., demanding that Congress act.
I want to bring a measure to the floor for a vote as quickly as possible.
The centerpiece of the deal targets 18 to 21-year-old gun buyers, requiring them to wait for enhanced background checks that will include a check with local police. It's just a framework with details missing, but 10 Republicans have signed on, enough to survive a filibuster and stand a real chance of becoming law. Even Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell, a staunch gun rights advocate, issuing a statement supporting the negotiations, though not necessarily the final product.
I think that there is a little breakthrough here.
A breakthrough Congress failed to reach after so many previous mass shootings. This time, lawmakers reaching for more modest steps, agreeing to help states carry out red flag.
And as of today, I think there's been 245 mass shootings in this country as of 2022. Let me see, mass shootings in 2022. Yeah, see, it's one of the top searches. 250 since June 2nd. So that was days ago. So we're probably at around 270 at this point, because there was something that happened this weekend. And then there was this thing that we're going to get to in a moment that I want to talk about.
Which let courts take guns away from people deemed a risk to themselves or others, and closing a loophole that has allowed some domestic abusers to buy guns despite their violent pasts. There's also money for school security and mental health, key Republican asks. The most recent push on gun violence following major mass shootings in Buffalo and Uvalde, Texas.
Frankly, what made the difference this time was just how horrified millions of Americans have been.
Right.
And Josh is with me now. Josh, what happens next?
Let me see what he says real quick.
Well, starting tomorrow, senators will get to work turning this framework into an actual bill that Congress can vote on. Senator Coons tells me he wants to see it on the president's desk by the end of July. Kate?
At the end of July? What month is it? Isn't it June? If you want change, what do you mean? What do y'all need? Do you need a courier? Well, how far is his office from his office?
Marches had already energized supporters of new gun laws.
We're not against honest, law-abiding people having a handgun, but they don't need an assault weapon that is stronger than anything the police here are carrying.
I mean, all right. This is where I'm conflicted on it, and I have to say this because the whole point of the Second Amendment, and there's a whole Second Amendment thing I want to get to. The whole point of the Second Amendment is to really defend your castle and defend your country in case of, what's the word I want to use? Invasion, right? And if you're invaded, and if your castle is invaded and the people around you have assault rifles and whatnot, I don't think that you should not have an assault rifle. I think that if anyone has an assault rifle in this country, then and I mean, by anyone. I mean, the military, the police officers. I mean, if you have access to them, then no one should have it. If you want to take them away from regular people, you take them away from everyone. Right? I don't believe that we should be outgunned, I'll say. Right? Because we don't know what people are really about. And just speaking about that and what people are really about and whatnot, let me see if I had this queued up here. There was a whole group of people
this final legislation
who were arrested recently, or this weekend. Not recently, this weekend. And I kind of feel like the news hasn't really done much with this at all. I don't think that the news has done much to really talk about this or whatnot. It's not even on, let me see, before I make this statement, because it wasn't there last night. It's not even on the front page of CNN.com right now, right? This news story that I'm talking about. One of the first things I see is Trump was warned against declaring an election night his victory. They're talking about the January 6th. Right now, there's a whole January 6th commission going on where, you know, these people are lying about not knowing about it or not hyping it up and making people, or not antagonizing it as President Trump did, and he did on national TV, but they're acting like he never did anything. Reckoning with race. A white state trooper pulled over a black woman and her father. It has become a story of inspiration. You know, just real bullshit that's going on. Johnny Depp, you know, that Amber Heard shit. I mean, this is what I was supposed to come back to. You know, Johnny Depp was the top news story for weeks, and everyone was watching it in a trial about Johnny Depp and his wife getting a divorce. Oh my God. This is the shit I talk about in this dumbass. Let me cut it out before I say, I guess, the wrong thing, right? You know, it's just the shit that I'm talking about. I mean,
it's happened this afternoon.
So I want to go into this right quick. Let me turn that down for y'all ears. Let me not hurt y'all on my return, season 2.
Blocks from that Pride parade, a parade that drew
all right, so
hundreds of people.
let me set this up. The whole thing that happened this afternoon, there was 31 people with ties to a hate group, which again, they, the government, Facebook, all those people that have these social media platforms, they're able to see that these people are on these chat groups and that they are premeditating attacks on people, attacks on black people, attacks on Asian people, attacks on sexuality or whatever, you know. So take a look at this, or take a listen.
Blocks from that Pride parade, a parade that drew hundreds of people to downtown Coeur d'Alene, law enforcement says they've been tracking this group and suspects that all the individuals detained show ties to a white nationalist organization. Coeur d'Alene police praising the actions of a quick-thinking 911 call.
I don't think this would have been as successful had we not had one extremely astute citizen who saw something that was very concerning to them and reported it to us.
Oh, so wait. Before I went into the story, I'm actually thinking that the police stopped them from getting to where their destination was. You mean to fucking tell me that somebody saw them going somewhere and then that's how they stopped them, even though they know that these people were online? This is what I'm talking about. The allowance of racism. The allowance of racism in this country is the issue. More than anything, the allowance, okay? Because I want to know, my question is, how many of these people that were in this U-Haul truck and whatnot are police officers, are former veterans of the military? I want to know those questions. Those are the questions I have.
A quote, little army loading into the back of a U-Haul. 10 minutes later, police make a traffic stop. This video shows the moment that truck's door slides open. 31 people arrested, all with suspected ties to the white nationalist group Patriot Front.
They had shields, shin guards, and other riot gear with them, including at least one smoke grenade.
The arrests happening just blocks from North Idaho's Pride celebration, an event that organizers say drew hundreds of supporters.
We have been through so much, so much harassment and attempts to intimidate, on the psychological level. And the truth is that if you allow yourself to be intimidated, you let them win.
Right.
And what we have shown today is that you will not win.
You won't.
Love will win.
Yes, God will win. And didn't I just say that? I haven't even watched this. God will win. And this is what I talk about with the angels and the devils of this world, is that we who speak up, we who talk about equality and why you should listen to people, we are the ones that have to do it, whether we die trying or not, because we have to make it better for the next generation. The next generation does not deserve the bullshit that this country is giving them. Reclaim America is what was on the back of some of these people. There are people smiling. There are police officers on the scene smiling. We don't know who is who. When you talk about defund the police, this is why. Because you have people who are arresting people, having a gay old time. You don't know who is who. Defund the police and break it down. There should be no reason why more than half the police, or I don't even know what is the makeup of police officers that are white in this country versus the rest of the look of this country. It's a dangerous thing. There's systemic racism in everything, even in the police academies and whatnot. There's police officers who talk about it.
Enforcement to process all 31 arrests. The men representing at least 10 states, including Washington and Idaho, and as far away as Texas, South Dakota, and Virginia, all held on conspiracy to riot, a misdemeanor charge and a jail stay. Police are confident may have stopped something.
And my thing is, here they are wearing these white masks. Why don't you take their mask off? You allow them to still wear their mask instead of showing their face on TV. Instead of showing us who that is. Is that the mailman that always throws my box around? Is that the garbage man that always leaves my garbage on the floor? Who are these people? We should know. There should be public record of racism or racists in this country, just like there is such an outcry on child molesters. Because you don't know. Because when the guy who went and killed 10 black people in Buffalo, he was there the day before, just talking to them. And you have a black man who said he was talking to him and just talking about life and whatnot. The next day, this guy goes back and starts killing people. We don't know. They know. They can track who these people are. They do track who these people are. But we don't know.
Or worse from happening. Police are commending the quick thinking of that 911 caller. They also say they've been working with the FBI and have been monitoring various group communications ahead of this weekend's Pride event.
Various group communications. There's loads of these groups out here. These white nationalists who want to take back the country. Take it back from what? Take it back from, and take it to where? Because from what you want to take it back to, there was no electricity. And Lord knows, most of y'all can't even exist without smartphones and McDonald's. So I want to know where we're going. I do. I just want to know, where are we going back to? When you say, I want to go back, we want to take back this country, where are we going back to? I don't know what we're going to do with these guns. I don't know what we're going to do with these people, but I do know that if we don't ban racism, then we're never, ever going to get better. You have to start with the racism. You have to start with the mental health. You have to start with why these people think this way. You have to. You have to start with the psyche. You have to start with the brain. If you want to kill a zombie, what do? Kill its brain, right? You stab it in the brain. This is like knowledge. I mean, that's what The Walking Dead told me. You chop off the head, right? How do you stop something? You cut off the head of the fish, whatever. You know, there's so many sayings about where it starts from. And systemically, racism starts from the brain. It's in, I would say, in the DNA at this point, at the DNA imprint. And if you really want to change, you focus on mental health therapy, psychotherapy for people who believe they may be a little racist, right? You ban racism. You actually attack what is the issue. But that's never going to happen. Because too many people in this country do really believe that there's nothing wrong, that black people are just complaining. That it's just black people. I mean, you literally have it where Asian people, Spanish people look at black people and they say, oh, well, look at LeBron James. Look how he lives. Look at all these rappers who have all this money, which, you know, most of it's fake. I have fake money for photo shoots and video shoots. There's fake jewelry. But there's this thought that things have gotten so much better where no one should be asking for more at this point. We keep talking about how the poor are and how things are getting worse, inflation and whatnot. And I think that's what we'll talk about next is inflation. You know, we keep having these conversations and we keep allowing these billionaires to just have all this money to not give it back to the poor. But we expect it to change. Gas prices at $5 a gallon. I don't know where we are. But it's getting worse. And if we don't hold the people accountable who can make a change, we're doomed.
To the news affecting almost everyone. Today, gas hit a new high, $5 a gallon on average nationally. And new data shows inflation is the worst it's been since 1981, up 8.6% since this time last year. That translates to families paying an extra $460 a month for everyday items. For so many Americans, that's money they simply do not have. So tonight, we follow 3 families as they're forced to change their lifestyles to get by.
What's your day look like?
Across the country, Americans are waking up to a new reality.
When I wake up in the morning, I start worrying about bills that need to be paid.
I start worrying about how I'm going to, provide for my family.
When I wake up in the morning, I worry about. When I wake up in the morning, I worry about. I mean, I don't want to say that these people just are negative, right? Can you just say, there's people out there who would say like, oh, well, you should wake up in the morning and feel grateful because you woke up. There are people who wake up and just say, please don't fucking wake up. I don't want to wake up anymore. There was this guy on Candy's, I have a housewife addiction. I do. I'm not going to lie. It's my reality shows that I watch. They're funny people. But there was a guy on Candy's from the Atlanta, her show, who said that he would wake up and say that he would just want to go back to sleep and just not wake up. dealing with, COVID and dealing with how to make money and struggling in this country, there is no relief. There is no restore. Things are getting worse. And the only thing that has not changed in this country is who pays more taxes than who. It's the only thing I've been saying since I've started this show. Nothing's changed since October. Yeah, I was gone. I told you. Wendy Williams can do it. I can do it. Because this is not that's her thing, I'm being a little funny. I'm sorry. But nothing's changed. The conversations have not changed. Things are just getting worse. Stricter gun laws, bullshit. Lower taxes, never happened. We have baby formula. No one can get baby formula. And that's one goddamn thing. Oh my God. We gave $800 million. Was it $800 million? I think we give $800 million a day or something like that to the Ukraine or whatever to help out. And we can't get no baby formula. Do you know how many countries this country helps? Do you know how much we as the people pay to help other countries? And we couldn't get baby formula from nobody? There was no food drive, no worldwide drive for helping the Americans with their baby formula. There was one point where they said, there's going to be a plane from Switzerland coming with millions of cans of baby formula. I said, a plane from Switzerland. One plane from Switzerland. And it probably wasn't even a million cans. I just added that to hope that it could be. But it wasn't, because obviously we're still struggling with that. I mean, with gasoline drawers, this country is going into hell. It is. You can't even. We're at wit's end. People are hungry. Homelessness is up. Bills are up. There's no relief at all. Inflation and everything else goes up, but no one's wages goes up. Minimum wage is still under $6 in Georgia. But these people just told us that regular families will have to pay over $460 more a month for basic necessities.
About what my kids are feeling more than anything.
In the town of Lumberton in southeast Texas,
be with everyone in the country that is in need.
Rising prices have forced Bridget and Johnny Lovell to drastically change their way of life.
As a mom, I feel stressed about everything.
They've had to cut back on the activities they enroll their 3 kids in.
We just find more activities to do that are cheaper, free.
And they've stopped eating out.
The other day, my kids were talking about how they miss eating Pizza Hut because that was, for us, it's a luxury item.
All right, I'm not co-signing none of that, by the way, because I barely eat out. I don't even eat out. Let's just say it like that. Barely is like once a month. Don't think you should have been doing that. You should have been making. I mean, there's two parents in the household. Come on now.
Good job.
Instead, Bridget keeps to a tight grocery budget.
If I start to see my budget going over, then I go back through my list and say, what do I absolutely have to have this week?
Look at her list. Cheez-Its.
Their frozen waffles.
All right. I mean, I guess that kids need their little snacks or whatever. But this is where this country is. Where we're really having to forego pretty much anything, right? Anything that is deemed extra, where I can be like, oh, well, you don't really need that anyway. But just a year ago, you had it, and just a year before that, you had it, and 8 years ago, you really, really, really had it when Barack was president, right? Look where we are. And the only people who continue to fly to the moon when they want to, Elon Musk, and, release a new Skims line, Kim Kardashian, and Tiger Woods just became a billionaire, and Tyler Perry has his huge fucking fuck house that he has in Atlanta where, they do all those things that they do. And they pay less taxes than you and I. and we're, not that we're okay with it, but I don't know. I think that if every American just didn't work for a day, I wonder what would happen. If every American just said, we're done. I'm done. I'm not gonna get gas today. Let's see how you do when we don't get gas. When no American leaves their house for a day. What would they do? The national walkout. I said that all black people should walk out for one day. Juneteenth, really. I think it's on a Sunday this year, so it wouldn't work out. But if we all, I really think this is the only way to stop what's going on with us is to actually stop. You hear people talk about when they wake up, what they're worried about. Struggling with bills upon bills upon bills, trying to start businesses. And, there's a lady who apparently she's selling old clothes now to try to sell, to try to do anything. To try to get any source of income. But this is where we are now. And like I said, there's just no relief in sight. It does not seem like. Joe Biden is just stumbling around as usual, waiting for bills to come to his desk. But where's the executive orders? Why haven't you, I don't know, struck a deal where, the economy sucks anyway, so let's just keep making up money. You mean to tell me you can't give the gas stations a tax break for 10 years so that the prices won't go up? I don't know what you can do, but you can do something, because I can't do anything. On the level that I'm on, I can't do anything. So if I can't do something, what the hell are you there for? If we voted you in, if we voted all of y'all in, and you were supposed to represent us, the people that $500 extra a month has to come from somewhere, get a fourth job, that's what they're telling you. What are you supposed to do? It's too comfy. They're too comfy. They're way too comfy. I saw another story where in Macon, Georgia, where the residents of the town now have to pay for the water infrastructure to be redone. And you think, well, that seems right. But The Color Purple was just there shooting a movie. You couldn't ask them for some change, just like all these homeless people asking us for change. You couldn't say, hey, can you help us rebuild our water infrastructure so that the town that you came in here and paid little to nothing to shoot in can have clean drinking water? What are our representatives here for? They used to be here for something. They used to fight for something. Like someone said, we should have it where if you take money from a corporation, we should be able to see it on a shirt that you wear every day. Because that's all that's going on. When you step into office, it seems nowadays it's a really a campaign contribution to your new house. It's a dangerous cycle that we're not getting out of. And it's only getting worse. And guess who's asleep? Hey, Bronx. He's not even asleep. He's pretending. That's a little boy. But listen. Okay, it's time for him to go out. All right, guys. It's been about an hour anyway, right? It's been about an hour. I've came back to talk to you. I will be back. This won't stop. I want you to ask those questions to your fellow American. I want you to bring it up. Talk about the real issues. Talk about what we're going through. Because it's not getting better on our side. It's only getting better on their side. And we don't deserve it. I'll see you soon.